Lanie here. Thank you for joining Lanie Cooks today. Today I will make a video to show you how to cook pompano fish, which is also known in Vietnamese as cá chim vàng. Cá chim vàng is basically just yellow fish. Once I get the fish prepped and everything, I will show you why it's called yellow fish. This fish is a very silky, buttery, it's delicious. I don't know how to compare it if I was going to talk about other fishes. It's definitely different from catfish and tilapia and salmon. You just have to try it to see for yourself. But this is a fish that I find in the local Asian food market. It's not something I have seen in any of the American food stores. So if you want to try this fish, definitely try out the Asian food market, and the guys in the food market will pretty much cut it however you like it, and I always have them cut mine and clean mine, so I'll show you exactly how they cut it for me. It's pretty much what I request every time. This fish can be fried, it can be braised, it can be caramelized, and it can be made into a soup, which is also known as Chou, and I will be making that pretty soon, so I will be sure to post a video of that. Chou is definitely a staple in our house that we eat with rice and fish or even meat. So stay tuned, guys, and if you have any questions or concerns, leave me a comment below, and I will try my best to answer all those questions for you. Again, thank you for the love and support for the Lanie Cooks channel, and together we can cook and make simple and delicious dishes for ourselves, for our family, friends, and whoever it is that you want to feed. So, alright guys, so stay tuned. Alright, so what I have here is about 1 pompano fish that I got from the Vietnamese supermarket, and I had them clean it and cut it into steaks for me. So if you guys can get a hold of this fish, be sure to take advantage of your local fish department. These guys are super helpful and super friendly, and I like that they can clean my fish for me so that I don't have to mess with it when I get home. So this is 1 fish. What I did was I asked him if he can cut into steaks for me. Depending on what I'm cooking is how many steaks I usually want it cut into. Important thing you guys need to know, and it will help out your local, the butcher who's going to be cutting up this fish for you, is that when you want it cut, I had to learn this myself. I was like so confused, so I used to say, oh, I want my fish filleted. Can you fillet it for me? And when they filleted it, they literally like filleted me, and they took a knife and just cut across the skin and got me a piece of meat, and that was not what I wanted. What I wanted was this. I wanted the fish cut in half or cut in pieces for me, and so I learned that the hard way. So basically what I have right here are fish steaks, you guys, okay? Not fillet. Fillet is when you're just getting the meat by itself. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clean my fish. You've seen me rinse it in some cold water a few times. Sometimes the fish has like, a little bit like a residue or so just from being in the market, being in ice and whatnot. So I'm just going to clean it with some water, and I'm going to let it sit in some kosher salt just for a minute or so, and then once that's done, we're going to rinse it again, and then I'm going to pat it dry, and then we'll get ready to cook it. But this fish, I'm going to braise it today, so that's why the steaks are so big, because it's just my family's small and this is what we eat from. Had I was going to cook it in my garden, which is the soup, I would have it cut into smaller pieces. So that's why there's only 3 pieces here. This is definitely a fish that I do buy and keep frozen at all times in my fridge, and we eat this very often in very many different ways. So next time I'm going to post another recipe of how I cook it, like fry it especially, and serve it with the fish sauce that I have in one of my videos. So one thing that's important when you guys buy this fish, you want to make sure that you see that the skin looks nice and clean, and this is why it's called yellow fish. It has like a yellow tint to it. The skin is like super soft. It's not scaly, so there's no scales needed. So when they do clean it, they just chop off the fins, and then they, cut it up and just clean it up for you a bit. But what's really important is that you want to make sure when you buy this fish that these eyeballs are clear, okay? It should not be red and it should not be dark black. That means that the fish has died before it was even frozen. That's very important, guys, because you definitely don't want to spend money on a fish that's no longer good, that has gone bad. So when you buy the fish, look for clear eyeballs. Clear eyeballs. Don't buy the bloody ones, don't buy the black ones. Very important. So I'm going to soak it in some water, cold water, and then I'm going to add about 2 teaspoons of salt, and I'm just going to let it soak for a bit. And the soaking also helps, you know, get rid of any fish smell that may be on here. It's kind of funny, but try to get rid of fish smell on a fish. But you know what I mean. We're trying to get rid of some of that odor. So I'm going to get my salt, and what I have here is kosher salt, and I'm going to put about 2 spoons of this. This is about 2 teaspoons. Alright, we're going to let it soak just a little bit, and then we're going to dry it once it's done. Okay, so now that the fish has been soaking for a couple minutes, I'm going to take it out and just kind of give it a good rinse. And I'm going to transfer it to a plate. I don't know about you guys, but growing up in my family, the head part of the fish was definitely a delicacy. So us kids would not be able to eat it. It's something we would have to leave for the adults, and we would never dare try to even fight for the head of the fish, which I don't really care for anyways, but yeah, it's something that growing up, we kids do not eat the head part of the fish. Alright, so now that my fish is nice and clean, I'm just going to pat it dry here. And then I'm going to season this with salt and pepper on both sides. I have just always done that, and to me it helps with taking out any extra fish odor that we, you know, don't really care for. So I'm gonna sprinkle some salt, and then we're gonna rub it in. And this gives the fish some good flavor too, just from seasoning it. I'm gonna sprinkle some here, that way when I turn it over, it will have some salt. And then we are going to season it with some black pepper. I hope you guys can see this. Okay, and then we'll put that mixture right here also. Alright, so we're just gonna rub it into our fish here. I like to rub it on the inside and the side here. Rub it. Kind of gives like the fish like a salt and pepper bath. Use some of this mixture. If you guys know what I mean when I say you rub the salt and pepper into the fish just to get rid of some of the fishy smell, then you understand this process. If this was being fried, this seasoning that I'm putting on it right now would be perfect for it also. Especially when you're frying it. This gives it a nice little salty and pepper coating. And then you can just eat it with whatever sauce. I like to put it on the inside also. This fish is really delicious, you guys. You won't regret it. And you know, for one fish like this that they cut up for me, I think it was like $3 a pound. Some places, maybe Houston or like the bigger cities, you can find it a lot cheaper. But over here where I live, it is definitely about $3 a pound, which is not a very bad price. And for them to cut and clean it, you just can't beat that. Alright, so my fish is nicely seasoned with salt and pepper. I'm going to let it sit here for a little bit while I chop everything else up. Wash my hands here. Alright, you guys, so now I'm going to chop up my scallions and my peppers and my garlic. And right here I have a purple shallot, one whole one. I'm going to chop that up into just coarse size pieces because I'm going to put it into my mortar and pestle here, and I'm going to crush it. And most people, I see that, you know, if you want to, you can just chop it all up and put it in your fish. But me, I like my seasons to come out, my herbs, aromatics to all come out and, you know, marry with the fish. So that's why I'm going to crush mine. What I did was I just smashed my garlic. I had 3 cloves. I'm going to add this to the mortar and pestle also, and then we are going to get all this together so it will be nice and crushed, and then we'll throw it over the fish. This is the part where we literally call it, you know, you're marinating the fish in onions and garlic. And this is also another way to get, you know, your fish tasting good and then getting the fishy smell out. So you'll see a lot of the Vietnamese people do this. They'll do a lot of shallots and garlic mixed and then throw it over the fish. So I'm going to crush this up real good. Then we're going to put it into our fish here that I put into my metal bowl. This is really simple, you guys. Anybody can do this. I'm just showing you all my stuff that I do, but normally this is all already prepped and prepared, but I just want to be thorough for you guys so that if you have any questions, I cover all my bases. Alright, so with that being done, we are now going to scoop all of this out and put it into our fish here. There's something about shallots and garlic, onions, shallots, garlic that just smells so heavenly. Alright, so once I have that mixture in, I am going to season my fish with some chicken powder. I'm going to do about 2 spoons of chicken powder. I have here my thick soy sauce. This is going to be for color, you guys. In the Asian cuisine, we use a lot of this, and most of the time it's for color. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in my marinade also, and then this will give the fish a nice golden brown color once it's cooked. I never understood why my mom had this when we grew up. I was just like, who cooks with that? You know, we have soy sauce already. What's the point of this? Now I totally get it. But never ever take this and put it in your mouth. It does not taste that good. Alright. So now I'm going to mix my fish around a little bit just to get everything seasoned and melt it together. And then I'm going to let this sit just for like maybe 10 to 15 minutes before we actually start cooking it. That way the herbs and stuff will get into this nice and good. Alright. Right now I'm just chopping up some onions and some cilantro, and this is going to be for the garnish once the fish is done. I just love fresh herbs in my food, so this is definitely something I always do in whatever I cook. Cilantro and some green scallions here. I also have 4 chilies here. What I'm going to do with this is 2 of them is going to go in the pot. Once the simmering and caramelization is at a good point, I'm going to throw it in there. But the rest of this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a sauce for us to dip whenever we eat it. Basically, all it is just Thai chilies cut up with a little bit of fish sauce in this bowl, and we pretty much serve that on a lot of the dishes that we eat. I'll go ahead and show you. I used to chop this up, you guys, and now I found that it's just so much easier to just cut it with some scissors or some kitchen shears. It makes life so much easier, and if you can make your life easy, why not do it? Don't overcomplicate things and don't make things difficult on yourself. If I have a trick that I find or I see from cooking, it amazes me. I'm like, oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? Why didn't I do that? Sometimes if I'm not using a mortar and pestle, I will use my little blender, a little food processor that I've shown you guys before that I got for like, I don't know, 10 bucks. It's the best investment ever because it saves so much time on having to chop things up if I have a lot of things I need to chop up or bring out the flavor. So right here I have some fish sauce. I've been using this brand lately. It's because it was on sale in Houston, so I bought a few bottles. And normally I use the 3 Crab brand, but this brand is pretty good too. I'll tell you one thing, it's not as potent as the 3 Crab brand, but it's just as good. So for this right here, I'm just gonna pour some just to cover up my dish. And this is what we're gonna use to dip our fish in. It's that simple. Anytime you're eating like a white fish, you know, you definitely want some kind of spicy and saltiness so that you can just dip in. Most people use it, don't use it, you know, but I like sauce and I usually dip things, so I like to go ahead and prepare this ahead of time. So as you can see, this is really simple. It was just 2 Thai chilies and about maybe 1 to 2 tablespoons of fish sauce. I'm gonna set that to the side. The longer you let that sit, the spicier it gets. So I like to go ahead and make my sauces ahead of time. That way they can sit and meld together. So I'm going to make my sauce that I'm going to pour over my fish once it gets into the pot. And basically all this is about 2 tablespoons of fish sauce. And because this one's not as potent as the 3 Crab brand, I'm just going to use a little bit extra. You can just adjust it to your taste. If you're a salty eater, add more. If not, you're a sweet eater, add a little bit more sugar. And then I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of sugar here. And this will be the sauce for our fish. All right. We're going to mix this. Okay, and because I like sambal, this stuff I do not live without. I have a pantry stock full of this. So I'm going to add about a spoon of the sambal. You got to have some spiciness with your fish. We're going to add that to our mixture. All right, and that's pretty much it. We're gonna go ahead and get this fish going. And then again, once this fish is done cooking, it'll simmer and the sauce will thicken a bit, but you know, you just season to taste. So if you want a little bit more seasoned, a little bit more salty, a little bit more spicy, a little bit more sweet, adjust according to your palate, guys. This is how I make mine and I eat ours, and so you have the idea of how it's done and the steps to it. As far as taste goes, at the end, that's up to you. You be creative as much as you want. Okay, so now I'm going to heat up my pot. I'm going to put it on about between 4 and 5, which is medium high. And I have this good sized pot here that I'm going to use for my fish. I'm going to add some vegetable oil. You can use vegetable oil or olive oil. I'm going to use vegetable oil. So here I am measuring it out for you guys. Here's 1 spoon. And there you go. 2 full tablespoons of vegetable oil. Once this gets a little hot, I'll add my sugar to start the caramelization process. Again, in like my last video, you would want to watch the sugar, guys. You don't want this to burn, and it will burn quickly if you don't watch it. So pay super close attention to it. Alright, I'm just going to put a spoon of sugar here just because I already added the thick soy sauce to the fish itself, and that should give it a nice brown color. I'm going to swirl this around a bit. Once you start noticing that this turns a little bit of brown, it's ready to go. You don't want it to get too hard. If it gets too hard, it basically becomes like candy, and it's no longer good as far as like, you know, caramelizing your fish. You can also kind of smell it when the sugar starts browning. I can smell it already, but I'm going to let it brown a little bit more. Alright, so my sugar is looking nice and brown. I'm going to go ahead and add my fish to the pot here. Be careful when adding the fish, as always, especially when you're dealing with, you know, hot grease. Of this garlic and shallot mixture to the pot too. We're going to let this cook for a few minutes on each side before I flip it over. Again, be super careful when you flip it over. You don't want that oil to splash on you. Yep. Getting a nice brown color here, guys. Looking good. I'm going to flip this over. If you're a good chopstick user, flip it over with chopstick. Use tongs if needed, whatever floats the boat. Whatever's easy for you. Again, make it easy on yourself. Alright, so now that the fish is starting to brown real nicely, as you can see here, what we're going to do next is I'm going to add my mixture that we made here with the fish sauce, sugar, and the sambal chili. And mix that up real good. And then pour it over. Oh, it smells so nice. And this is our sauce. Right now, this smell right now, you guys, reminds me of like Vietnam, and we were there not too long ago, and this, just the smell of this fish alone brings me back home of when my aunt and uncle would cook for us. All right, look at this. Oh, it looks so delicious. Smells delicious, you guys. So what I'm going to do is we are going to let this simmer a bit. I have it on 4, so it's on like between medium heat right now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of water just to kind of like, you know, let it simmer without killing our sauce over here. We don't want all that sauce to disappear. So I add a little bit of water just to make it have more sauce. But what we're going to do is we're going to watch the pot. We're going to let it cook. And while it's cooking, I will be spooning like this sauce over this meat so it'll get the top of the fish. At this time, I would not flip the fish over anymore just because the skin and the meat inside is probably super tender and fragile now. So any more flipping over, this will probably cause the fish to break. So what you want to do right here is just kind of give it a bath. Give the sauce, give the fish a bath in this sauce. Look at this, guys. This looks so delicious. My husband's going to be really happy when he sees this. Alrighty. Okay, while that is simmering, I'm going to cut the heat down just a little bit because it is kind of boiling pretty high right now. I'm going to add my 2 Thai chilies into the pot. There we go. And because I love garlic, I'm going to add just a few sprinkles of my garlic powder into my pot here. No measurements, just sprinkle it on top. If you're not a garlic eater, avoid this. But this just gives the top of the skin a nice garlicky flavor. Alright, so now I'm turning the heat down to medium low. I'm going to let it simmer. We're going to simmer this for about 15 to 25 minutes or so until the fish is nicely cooked and the sauce is nice and thickened. And then, well, like I said, every 8 to 10 minutes, or every few minutes or so, I'm going to give my fish a bath. That way that it'll be nice and evenly coated with this sauce we're cooking here. Even distribution. Look at that, guys. It looks so delicious. I cannot wait to eat this with some white rice. Look at this. So now we're going to let it simmer. That way the flavor can soak into the fish and then it'll be nice and yummy. I'm going to put the lid on and let this simmer for about 15 to 25 minutes or so. I'm going to keep watching it and then I'm going to open it every now and then and bathe my fish. Giving my fish a bath here. This gives it nice flavor. Alright, I have turned my heat down to a 2, which is on really low now. And so I'm going to add my onions. I had that was about 3 to 4 green onions that I added. And I don't know about you guys, but I recently discovered these 2 bottles here. I hope I'm saying it right, but togarashi. I know that some of the poke bowl places, sushi places, they put this on top, and I really like the flavor to these. So I have been noticing myself putting this on my meat, my soups, my fish, anything that's yummy. Oh, especially with eggs too. So just to give my fish a little color and a little bit of spiciness, I'm going to add these. The orange one, it says that it's just only chili pepper, and the red one has a little bit of other stuff in it, so it said assorted chili pepper. So this is the one I'm going to use for my fish. No measuring at all. I'm just going to sprinkle it on top of my fish here. And it's just a beautiful red color that, you know, you just can't resist when you see this on something. It just makes me want to like eat it even more because it's so colorful and vibrant. I know it looks like I'm putting a lot in here, but the little hole is so small that I have to shake it a few times and shake it real hard for it to come out. Alright, so that part's done. So now we're just going to let our fish sit here and marinate, simmer the rest of it for another few minutes. I just added my cilantro. You guys, we love herbs, especially cilantro and onions, so a lot of my dishes will be covered in this because it's so delicious and greens are good for you. Alright you guys, so here's the final dish. Here's the final outcome to how my Garnish call, you know, the braised pompano fish turns out. I want you to take a look at this. Full of deliciousness. Look at that color. Look at that sauce. This is really good over rice, you guys. So I'm going to let this simmer a little bit more, and then it'll be ready to serve. Alright, so the Garnish, the pompano, is completely done. I just turned off the fire, took off the lid, and it's ready to serve. We're going to serve this with white jasmine rice, that fish sauce that we made, and also I have made the canh chua with Garnish, which is the sour soup with the pompano fish. This will be in my next video, so you guys be sure to tune in and watch it, and I'll show you how to cook this delicious soup. Thank you for watching, and be sure to subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up on this video, and stay tuned for more upcoming videos. Thanks for watching guys, have a great day.